Greetings, this is Marley from the Black Father Support Group and welcome to another one of our catch-up sessions. Yesterday's session was totally different to what we usually do. So we had a group, a community sit down talking about stop and search, about police engagement with the black community, specifically in Lewisham because that's where we're based. We had members from the Lewisham Police, Metropolitan Police, and some other people from our community who were speaking on that. Very lively debate, and what I noticed was that at the end of it there was a feeling that I picked up from a lot of people there of dissatisfaction, because just talking about something isn't enough nowadays. We've seen over here in the UK and also over in the USA a thing where people would see a problem, they would talk about the problem, discuss it, put it apart, put it back together again, and can really see where the issues are, and then no action is taken. One of the people who spoke about the event, or how he was on the panel and he spoke afterwards about the event, was Duwayne Brooks. Here's what he had to say.
I am the Deputy Mayor's Advisor on Stop and Search. So today I attended this meeting. Firstly, I'd like to say that it was attended well for Lewisham, and a big thank you for everybody that attended. The downside of it, though, is no one left with knowing what their rights are. So we come to a stop and search event. I asked the public, do they know what their rights are when they're being stopped and searched? And they said they don't. So I said, make sure that you leave here knowing your rights, so you can pass those rights on to other people. And unfortunately, everyone left without asking the relevant questions.
So you can see that, if you're going to just talk about something and not do anything about it, then what's the point of you actually sitting down and talking in the first place? We keep having to have the same conversations over and over again, because what happens is that we'll talk about something and then, nothing happens, and then we'll come back a little later on and then say, hey, good discussion, let's do it again. There was a young sister there, and young being the operative word, because she thought that it was a good event.
I believe that in order for someone to acquire knowledge, you need a starting point of analysis, and I think this was the starting point for the conversation. So people will take away the leaflets, they will go and have a read now, because they know that perhaps they lack an understanding, or they lack the facts that they needed to back up their argument. So this was the start, and I think people will go away and they'll look into the facts and into the figures and into their rights.
Now, that sister there, she is new to the game. So for her, she isn't aware that for the past 20 years, we've been having the same conversation. She's not aware that 30 years ago, there was something called sus laws, which was pretty much the precursor to stop and search. The same thing, except that then it was a little bit more. It was a lot more colonial in the way that it was done. There was no complaints procedure. There was a lot more abuse of the system back then. So they changed the name, rebranded it, and called it stop and search. But it's practically the same thing. So if we're having the same conversations now that were being had 30 years ago, that's a problem. Unfortunately, the people who are having the conversation now are not the same people that was having the conversation 30 years ago, because either they're dead or they're tired of talking in the same thing and nothing changing. After the meeting, I also got to speak with one of the people who are from the Metropolitan Police, and this is what he had to say.
Hi, my name's John Biddle, I'm the Partnership Sergeant at Lewisham. I really do feel that Stop and Search has some really good impact in terms of it takes knives off the street and saves lives.
I see a lot of pictures on the wall
Yeah.
Of knives that have been taken.
These are all taken, certainly since October last year.
What do you say to those conflicted views that say that stop and search isn't the best way to deal with crime on the streets?
I don't think it's the only way. Okay, I think the lawyer was absolutely right. It's about communities.
Yes.
Being able to almost not self-police. That's not probably the wrong way of looking at it, or the wrong word. But I think communities need to take some responsibility, because we take off the street about 30 or 40 knives every month, but we still find the knives, so they are still out there. And that's about communities being able to work out what their young people are doing.
Ambulance. Hopefully they're not going to a knife crime incident. But what the policeman was trying to say was, hey, we are doing a good job, because if it wasn't for us going out there and doing these stop and searches, then we wouldn't have these knives, and every single one of these knives that we've taken off the street is another potential murder that we've stopped from happening. The thing is, you're saying then that the reason that people are carrying knives is because they have the intent to kill someone, or that them having this knife directly leads to them killing someone. But here's the way I see it. Two things. The first thing is, prevention is better than a cure. So we have to be willing to look at how we prevent the crime in the first place. Now, when I had said this on Twitter last night, the police came back and said, well, we are preventing deaths by, the means of stop and search. And that's exactly what that sort of is reiterated by what the policeman was saying in that clip earlier. My point is, the crime starts from when they're carrying the knife. So you criminalizing someone and then saying, well, this is good because we have stopped them from doing another crime, it means that you've already decided that they were going to kill someone, or they were going to do something with that knife. No, that's not the case. That isn't true at all. If they're taking 30 knives off of the streets every month, right? If that's the case, and those knives are there in order to, those knife crimes have meant the killing or the saving of lives, then surely we would have seen in the region of like 120 murders or attempted murders in London for this year so far. We haven't. It's a lot less than that. So there's something skewing about. There's a rhetoric. There's a propaganda that is being spewed out by showing those pictures and continuing to put forth this message that us police using stop and search means that we've actually saved a life. The way I see it, prevention means putting those young men and women in a situation where they no longer have the need to use those tools. So more community engagement. Stop taking money out of the community and then expecting something other than anarchy. Of course that's going to rain if you're going to keep on taking. It's like crabs in a barrel, but you keep on reducing the size of the barrel and you're expecting to see something else. Here's the thing. If you are living in a system of white supremacy, you have a prison system that requires a set number or a certain number of people, of inmates, to keep you at a positive income level. So you need to start creating a environment which will produce more inmates. The way you do that is by taking more resources out of that community. And by taking more resources out of that community, then you create more desperation from people. Those more desperate people will take into their hands more desperate measures that will require other people to tool up, to protect themselves against those people. You then go in and put mandatory minimum sentences on those people who are carrying the knife crime, and then portray the propaganda that you are doing that in order to prevent the crime that you have created the system to produce. Do you see how that is? I noticed how the police last night kept on saying, hey, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice man. You know, I was brought up in Lewisham. My children are from Lewisham. I think Lewisham is a great borough. You may be a nice person. You may think Lewisham is the greatest borough. I'm not disputing that. But the thing is that you are working on behalf of a system that is quantifiably ensuring the destruction, the maldistribution of wealth out of the black community and into other communities with expected results. We know what ghettos do. We know that if you squeeze a ghetto, what you're going to get out of it is more crime. So while we're sitting here dealing with the impact of it, please don't pretend like as though you didn't know that was going to happen in the first place. One thing I forgot to mention before, which I need to say before I finish this video, is that when you're dealing with a system that is designed to keep one set of people in turmoil by redistributing wealth out of that community and then off into another community, and you're dealing with the fallout of that sort of ghettoization of a part of the town or the city you live in, you have to understand that the place where you're living is hostile towards you. All right? So it's kind of like you're living and working and breathing in a system that views you as a combatant. You're a prisoner of war. That's what you are. So when you're dealing with something like stop and search, you being worried about whether you're being treated fairly or not makes no sense, because you're not going to be. So when you're dealing with them, you've got to ask yourself, what do I need to do to get home? That's what you need to have as your first, second and third concern. I'll let my man MX explain.
If you are stopped, think of yourself in it. Think of if you've got children, think of them in it, because I know police searches can go horribly wrong. And what you really want to do is go home in it. So if it's a thing where you're gonna just, what do you want? Officer who wants to search you, even if you want to, now there's a complaint thing there's a complaint procedure in place through Lewisham Stop and Search Group. So now you have a problem, then complain about it. And this is the problem, innit? This is the issue. So my advice to anybody that's getting stopped or searched out there, just try to get home safe. That's your number one goal, innit? If you are carrying a knife, then you shouldn't be. If you are carrying drugs, then you shouldn't be. They're not legal. Do you understand? So try to get home safe, however that is, and you've got to assess the situation. You've got like an officer that you think, this guy's a bit, then deal with it in accordingly. Your objective is to get home or to get to your destination. You didn't want to get stopped today. Do you understand? That's my advice for you.
All right, Chris. Thanks very much, King.